welcome back to Lex Reads. So in today's video, I actually want to share my guideline and thoughts of how to stay, motivated, how to get back into reading. I was inspired to do this after watching an interview with Jenna Bush Hager from Good Morning America. She was getting her coworker, back into reading. He was telling her how he was a reader as a kid, and then life kicks in and you get responsibilities, you got kids, you got your work, and you kind of fall off. And after that, I was thinking about my little journey of getting into reading. And just a quick backstory, I was never a reader. I read my first book ever on my own when I was 14 years old. I had a problem with actually reading. I could not comprehend anything. Okay, you would tell me to read something, first of all I would struggle because just reading a word, that phonics, it was a mess. Okay, comprehension wise, I read it, you ask me what it's about, and I'm clueless. So reading was a challenge for me. I also saw it as a chore, and I didn't get into it. After I read that book at 14 years old, it was I Know Where the Caged Bird Sings. I stopped reading it, and then the summer of my sophomore year, I read more of Maya Angelou's works. And then after that, stopped. And I didn't read back again until I was a freshman in college. And the first time I read Toni Morrison at 19 years old, and I started off with Love, and then I read Jazz. And after that, just stopped reading. I always want to be one of those persons where you ask them, what are you reading? They can tell you. Or the big one was, before you go to bed, you got a book and you read it. I always used to see that in movies. But in 2017, my aunt who raised me, she passed. And then 2 months later, my grandmother who also raised me passed. And then 10 months later, my uncle who also raised me passed. And I needed a distraction. And so I always watched, BookTube, always followed, Bookstagram, would go into bookstores, get books, but didn't read them. So you can see I wanted to be a reader. But I think because of the grief, it kicked me off. I went into a bookstore, looked at some books, got something. But then I remember I said, well, I'm still not comfortable sitting down reading a book because that takes a lot of patience, okay? Even till this day, and I'm an avid reader, it takes patience to sit down and read a book. So I started with audiobooks. And the first book that I started off with was Praise Song for the Butterflies by Bernice L. McFadden. Hence why Bernice L. McFadden is my favorite author. Hence why Praise Song for the Butterflies is my favorite book of all times, okay? That's my little backstory of how I got into reading, and now it is, I don't want to say a problem. It's not a problem. It's fun, okay? But as you can see, I got a lot of books around me. But let's start with my tips of how to get motivated to reading / how to get back into reading. So I would say the first thing is spend time with books, meaning go to a bookstore, go to a library, go to a used bookstore. That was my first thing when I started getting back into reading. I actually needed to go to a bookstore, pick up a tangible copy of a book, look at it. By going into a bookstore, you can, ask the associate, what's the hottest book? Or, what would you recommend? So feeling, touching, smelling a book, that is my first tip of, really getting back into reading. A second tip is, what do you like to watch? And for me, that was key because you guys know I love TV and movies, mainly movies. When I was getting back into reading, I'm like, well, let me kind of gravitate towards books and stories that I know I like to watch. So for me, I know I like dramas. When it comes to movies and TV shows, I like a little bit of romantic comedy, obviously like comedy. So those are like the RAM. One genre that I do not like for movies is like horror movies, scary movies. So that's why I wouldn't read a Stephen King, okay? Because that don't do nothing for me. I'm too much of a scaredy cat. So because I like, drama-filled movies, I know I'm going to like literary fiction. Also, too, I like slavery movies. So I started buying books that are slave narratives. Also, I discovered that I like, y'all don't laugh, but y'all know the little Tubi movies that come on where they be memorizing their lines. Them kind of like hood kind of movies. That's urban fiction, and I like urban fiction. I'm like, well, you like them little Tubi movies. You go like urban fiction. I absolutely love urban fiction. It's really weird because if I'm in a reading slump or need to cleanse my palate, I will get an urban fiction book, which is like, I don't understand how that cleanses your palate because, urban fiction can be kind of monotonous with the, they pushing weight and the sex and the drugs and all that, and I'm very weird. Next is always have a book on you. Now, when I do go to work, when I go into my office, I usually have a book in my purse, in my work bag. Sometimes I might take it out, sometimes I won't. And I discovered a lot of times when I don't have the book, I'm like, oh, I wish I could read something. And then even if I do have the book and I don't read it, at least I have that option. You know what I mean? I told y'all I don't like to listen to books on audio at work. I tend to listen to, like, romances or urban fiction, when I'm listening to a book on audio, and they be saying some stuff. So I have been smiling by walking to the copy machine or something like that. They ask me, Lex, what's going on? And I'm smiling like they talking to me. So I don't do that no more. I've learned my lesson, okay? Also, I don't bring, and this is just a personal preference, not that deep, but I don't bring urban fiction books to work. I don't bring like tangible books. I don't bring no romance books because sometimes I have to explain what it is about, and y'all know for me, I like that black romance, like that Alexandria House, and some of the synopsis, it can be kind of like I'd be a little shy, okay? So I don't do that anymore, but I will bring, but I do bring, my other books or whatever. But yeah, always have a book on hand, because you never know if you might want to pick it up or not. Next will be, for me, before I read a book or want to read a book, or if it's a new release, I will look at some reviews. Now, sometimes, that might sway me to be like, oh no, I don't want to read it, or sometimes it will. But I just like to get a feel of, like, obviously what the book is about, and then what people really think about it. And again, it's up to, you if you want to read it or not. For my reviews, I always like to obviously look at, YouTube reviews. I like to look at Goodreads reviews. Also for me, when an author comes out with a book, I like to watch their interviews and see obviously what the book is about, but just the inspiration of a book. They also will list other books that they are known for. And that is even with authors that are dead or alive. I just like to do that. Also, when I'm done with the book, I will go back and watch more interviews just to kind of close the book out. I think that's like the research part that I really like. I enjoy, researching things, and I just like that. So yeah. Next would be pick a time and place where you can actually read the book. I have a video for you guys that I did of how to read a book in a day, like some of my tips, because that was new for me. And I've said time and time again, it takes a lot of time and patience and concentration to sit and read a book. It honestly does. You do have to carve out that time, especially if you are a working person. And not even if you're a working person, if you are a stay-at-home, mom or dad, that's work. So you have to carve out your time. And sometimes it's like when you get a couple minutes to yourself, a couple hours, you may not want to sit and read a book. But there are times where I get an urge where, I want to sit down and read a book. And so I pick a spot. I know for me, I can't sit and read a book in the bed. I'm not even going to try to do that to myself, especially during the day. I can kind of do it at nighttime. My go-to is my sofa in my living room. Also, my go-to is the bathtub. I can read a lot in the bathtub, okay? I have read, which I know is not good, for women, where we're not supposed to just sit in the bathtub for hours, but I have literally finished a book in a bathtub, okay? I don't do that anymore, but give me a good 20, 30 minutes, I can read a lot in the bathtub. So I know bathtub, sofa, also the time. I read really well at night because I'm a night person. I don't read in the morning before I go to work, or even on the weekends. I don't get up and go to the couch and read in the morning. That don't do nothing for me. Otherwise, I won't read. But I notice at nighttime, I can sit on that couch and I can read a book. Or like I said, sometimes get in the bed at night, have my book. So yeah, guys, find a time and a place where you can actually read the book. Next, I would say formats of books, meaning audio, Kindle, or a tangible book. Find that format of what you like. For me, I like to have a tangible book. I don't even own a Kindle. I can't read online. I'm so old school where when I have to read at work, I will actually print it out and physically have the paper and read it. That's just how I am. But I know some people, they like, they only can read on their Kindle. There are also some people that only can listen to books. I know for me, like I told you guys earlier, I like to listen to urban fiction and romances on audio. I discovered I do not like to listen to mystery books on audio because I want to have the tangible copy where I can, highlight and tab and be like, okay, this is the person that I think did it, or some literary fiction, I like to actually, physically have it. Or what I have discovered is I can listen to a literary fiction book, an audio, if I have like the tangible book. So I have a lot of books where, not a lot, but I have some books where I have the physical copy and the audio. And sometimes I will pop it in my ear while I'm, physically reading the book. And I realize I kind of like that. Find that format of books that you like. And then lastly, I would say join a book club. That will really get you motivated into reading. Also, too, you feel accountable because it's like, well, I got to finish this book before the end of the month. And then you get together and you talk about the book. Also, if you didn't get, what the book was about, you're able to discuss it and get even more key factors. Plug, I have a book club. It's called UnsungBlack Book Club. We started in February of this year. And when I tell you we have so much fun just discussing the books, that camaraderie, you get so much out of the book. Also, too, when you have a book club, you find out what other people like. And you just swap out books. It's so good. If you really are trying to get back into reading, I would say a book club is key. So yeah, guys, those are my tips of how to stay motivated, how to get back into reading. And also, too, you guys, reading, it's a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. It's not that deep. Okay, if you don't finish a book, it's fine. If you don't like a book, if you DNF it, it's not that deep. Okay, you can go back and get another book. We got too many books in this world. Again, not that deep. Let's just read, have fun, and that's it. So yeah, guys, that's all I have for you, and I'll be back with more Black books. Bye.